Today's episode of Vital Voices is brought to you by Oak Tree Medical Center and Wellspring Lifestyle Group.
Are you enjoying Vital Voices? Do you find our conversations educational, engaging, and inspiring? Then like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell to keep updated on new episodes and more.
Vital Voices.
What would it take to rewrite how Bahamian workplaces work? This quarter, not next decade. On Friday, September 26 at 6:30 p.m., Disrupt HR Nassau 4.0 brings 18 voices to one stage for a $60 investment and a Monday morning plan. It's the first Disrupt led by license holder Rashad Thompson. And today we unpack the ethos, the lineup, and the one practice he wants you to try next week. Let's disrupt. Welcome to Vital Voices, the podcast where we amplify the stories, insights, and expertise of the people shaping the future of our communities, our conversations, and our country. I'm your host, Alexis Burrows. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are talking Disrupt HR Nassau 4.0 with presenter and license holder Rashad Thompson. We'll get into the Disrupt ethos, what we're actually disrupting in HR and people leadership, the rapid-fire format, why this is an investment, who needs to be in the room, and the through lines in this year's speaker slate. We'll also hit local challenges we're solving for, the on-the-night experience, accessibility, and what to bring to get real ROI and how to register before seats are gone. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Alexis. It's great to be here with your audience. I'm so grateful to be a part of this conversation again.
Yeah, so we had you on the show a few months back talking about leadership and HR and people management. And since we had you on the show, obviously I saw you spoke at Disrupt in another country, and then you started promoting Disrupt here, Disrupt HR. Nassau 4.0.
It's a mouthful.
It's a bit of a mouthful.
Yes.
And I was very intrigued when I saw the promotions go out because I'm like, this looks very different from what I've seen, what I've been to. Like I've done conferences in London, I've done conferences in Boston, in different parts of the state, San Diego, and this is different entirely from anything that I've ever seen or experienced. This is just even looking from how you have it structured in terms of the promotion. So this is 4.0, but this is the first one where you're operating as a license holder for this event and leading the event. So tell us, how did you become involved with this? The story about how you became the license holder and what your vision is for the ongoing disruption.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for that question, Alexis. The thing about Disrupt HR as a brand, as a construct, it is very different than any other conference you've ever attended. It's meant to be different. It is in fact created to be a bit of a slap in the face to the regular conference. And so if you've ever attended a shift conference held by Rashad Thompson or a Street Talent Management, think of Disrupt HR as shift on steroids, right? The transformation is going to be the same, the energy is going to be the same, but the iteration and the way it's done is completely different. So how did I become the Disrupt HR license holder for Nassau? My friend and brother, Wellington Hepburn, was the initial license holder for Disrupt HR Nassau and Grand Bahama. COVID came, and then it disrupted the flow of things for the whole world, of course. After the pandemic, Wellington had 3 children, all under the age of, I think, 7. He is married. He has his own business. He's still an employee. His wife homeschools his children. He was like, bro, there's a lot. Like, these children is being children. My wife needs me. My family needs me. I am just not able to do this and do it well. And the thing about the license, as a part of the license agreement, you have to host an event at least once per year. And so he had reached the end of the year. I was like, oh crap, I didn't have an event. And so he introduced me to the idea of becoming the license holder. And I'm like, this is my whole thing. I've been to a Disrupt HR event here. I'm preparing to speak to one in Trinidad. Let's ride. So we connected with the Disrupt HR creator. Her name is Jennifer McClure. She's out. I can't remember where Jennifer's from. Forgive me. She's from the States. I can't remember its exact city. But he introduced the 2 of us, and she was like, say less. Let's get it done. I actually met her at a conference that I attended in Barbados. And she was like, you would be great for Disrupt HR. 2 days after that, when Wellington came and said to me, hey, bro, would you mind taking over the license? And the end is, I guess the rest is history, as they said it. And so now my vision for Disrupt HR, specifically in Nassau, and when I eventually take on the license for Grand Bahama, is to put on a platform the voices that need to be heard that have not been heard. I think in our nation specifically, we continue to see the same people over and over on stages, which is not, I guess, to offend them. That's your stage, own that stage. But we also have other vital voices that are worthy of a stage. And sometimes it's just a lack of an opportunity. And so I'm not even hosting the event. It's presented by my company as the license holder, but I'm intentionally going to be way behind the scenes on the night of because I want people to gain visibility. As I said in our last episode, on my last time here, visibility builds credibility. Credibility leads to viability. And some people just don't have the right visibility they need to build the credibility to become viable. And this iteration of Disrupt HR, the next several years that God will allow me to have that license, we're going to do our best to put on the stage unheard voices that need to be heard. Yeah. So all 18 of these speakers are people that you may or may not have heard from before. They may not have been first on your timeline, but I can guarantee you, at the end of Disrupt HR Nassau 4.0, when you leave SLS on September 26th, they will be voices you will not soon forget, and they're going to give you tools that you'll be able to apply right away.
Awesome. So I think, it's interesting, just the name alone, with it being called Disrupt, it kind of speaks a little bit to the ethos already. But,
Yes.
What are you looking to disrupt specifically as it pertains to HR and people leadership? Because obviously we've spoken before, so I have an idea, but, for our listeners who may not be familiar, what exactly is the goal?
We want to disrupt the way you have done business and leadership for the last however long you've been doing it. This is the environment that you need to be in to unlearn what you've learned when you know it's holding you back. You've been holding on to traditional ways of doing things. You've been holding on to paper way of doing things and analog ways of doing things when the world is different. I was in church the other day, Alexis, and a young lady, she's maybe 9, somewhere between 9 and 11. She went to Barbados as part of a swimming competition. She came back with 5 medals, right? Our pastor said, we just want to highlight her for what she's done and success she's had. And everybody clapping up and whatnot. So he asked her if she wants to say something. She said, sure. So she was like, I want to congratulate me. And I was like, oh, that's new. That's different. She's a child in the way of the world and whatnot, but she is going to be my leader one day. She may one day be our Prime Minister, Alexis. And she's thinking of the work that I put in. I want to congratulate myself because y'all ain't doing it. Somebody else may never do it. So let me just take a minute and say, you know what? Great job. Now, that could be seen as selfish and conceited and arrogant, or it could be self-encouragement. It could be the way that this generation is formulating the way they think. And if you are a 30-year veteran in anything, hiring a 24-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, you see the world completely different. 100%. There is nothing, very little you agree on or see the same way. And so we want to challenge HR leaders, we want to challenge business leaders, entrepreneurs, even employees to undo what you've done. I'm not saying to you to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but for sure, change the water. This is a whole different experience right now.
Yeah, I spent the last few years working in a director role, and we brought on, people in that. So I turned 40 last year, right? So we had maybe 25, 26-year-olds on the team, and I'm someone like I've worked in youth ministry in my past, things like that. So I have experience in my mind. Yeah. I have experience with working with people that are of the definitive age difference. Yeah. But I realized when I was 20, 21, 22, leading 16 and 17-year-olds, the gap wasn't as big as I thought. 40 with 25 and 26-year-olds, I'm like, yeah, I feel old. Like, I feel so...
You feel old.
I am like, what is this universe
out of touch
that they exist in? And it's not negative. It's just there's a different view. There's a different experience. I look at it the way, like I remember telling my mom before she passed, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be because my mom worked one job for the entirety of her life until the banks merged, and then she was doing a couple of things here or there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be the same place for 20-25 years. So I have to realize, okay, if I was saying that, I realize now that this generation is coming up, they're going to have viewpoints based on what they've seen us, our generation, their parents' generation, and different people in that space, and they approach it differently just because everything about the way they see the world is shaped by their experiences. Absolutely. Right? Like, we grew up, we had September 11th, and then things was kind of chill outside of the Iraq War or the Afghanistan War. Now it's like these kids grew up with COVID, Dorian, To some degree, they might have memories of September 11th, depending on when they were born. And it's like you have all of these things that kind of shape, and then how that affected their parents, their family members, all of that. So I know it's a very different space, and therefore something like this presents an interesting opportunity to hear voices that are coming from these different perspectives. And I think that's helpful.
That's the key, Alexis. It is the fact that it's different perspective. None of these speakers are overtly the same. They are all very, very different, operating in different spaces, industries, coming from different vantage points. And the thing that I think is missing from a lot of organizations today is an appreciation for different perspectives. If you don't agree with me, you're the enemy. If you don't bow and say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, you're the enemy, versus, I never thought about it that way. What are your thoughts on this? Should we conceptualize this differently? Should we engage a different subset of our workforce on this project and that project? Versus the boss say yes, so we must say yes too. And this celebrates, this in fact calls out different perspectives very intentionally.
Yeah, and it's important to hear those voices because, one singular mind, one singular voice is incapable of being able to run anything
Absolutely.
In totality, because there are going to be things that you miss. There are going to be vantage points, like you said, perspectives that you just don't see.
Yes.
And therefore, there are going to be gaps in either the way you offer your services, the way you treat your employees, all of those different things, and things that legitimately get missed, and then your organization crumbles, little by little.
Yes.
It is, again, looking back to this format of, I think you said 18 speakers, 5 minutes each, no slides, one mic. What do people expect? 'Cause my overstimulated brain is like, whoo, that just feels like it's going to be like this, right? But what can people who are coming to the conference, to the event, what can they expect?
So one correction, I think online we misspoke at some point. So they only have 20 slides. Okay. So it is 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes, Alexis. We're going to have our host, Mr. Valdez K. Russell, will join us as our host for the evening. He will bring up each speaker. He has about 20 to 30 seconds to do that.
4 slides a minute? Sorry, I had to run them back.
Literally. They have, and the slides auto-advance every 15 seconds. There is no next slide. They are set to automatically advance every 15 seconds.
You got to be quick with it.
So you literally have only 15 seconds to get your point across on that slide. You have 5 minutes to do it all. After those slides are done, your mic is cut. So whether you, midpoint, finally get it out, whatever you're doing, the mic is done, you shouting, and the host is coming up. Congratulations, thank you for next speaker coming up, Alexis, is That's it. It's meant, this is what it is. This is a long talking man. Get to the point. You have a strong message, a clear strategy, a way for me to change the way I think about so-and-so or enhance the way I think about so-and-so. You have 5 minutes to get it done. Pitch it, move on, change the world, walk off the stage.
So it essentially sounds like a conference, but with elevator pitches. So
literally,
like if you had to think about like what it would sound like, it's like if you took a conference and you distilled it down to an elevator pitch,
right?
Would be an extended elevator pitch, obviously, but that would be the idea.
Each speaker comes up, they create their own slides, they create their own topic, they're all doing on their own thing. Ironically, they all feed into one another, but that's just an act of God. But they create their own slides. They know what the message they want to share. They only have 5 minutes to do so. So it's 5 minutes, maximum 20 slides, minimum 20 slides. There is no 19, 18, 21, 20 slides, 5 minutes, one message, one mic, one night, one stage, change the world, walk off.
So, you reference this as a $60 investment.
Yes.
Not a fee, not a price, not a cost. What is the return on investment? Because if you're going to use the word investment, then we automatically in business, we go to ROI, right?
Absolutely.
So what is the return on investment that attendees can expect, whether they are managers, owners in the C-suite, employees? What do they expect to walk away with by the end of that Friday night and take back into work Monday morning?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is disrupt that thought. I want you to move from thinking about ROI and start thinking about COI, the cost of an action. You have been where you are for the last however long, and nothing has changed. You're blaming all the systems, all the programs, all these young people, all these old people, but you're not doing anything to be the disruption your organization needs, to be the disruption your leadership needs, to be the disruption your business needs, your home life needs, right? You need to take the bull by the horn and do something. Disrupt. or be disrupted. There are going to be people in this world coming into your industries, your organizations, your world, and disrupting things without apology. And so rather than thinking what I can get, think about what I'm going to lose if I do not make it my business to get into this room and do what needs to be done. To answer your question, I guess, traditionally, I will say this. People are going to be bringing a new perspective, a varying perspective, a different perspective, and that's what you need in this day's world. You don't need same old, same old. You don't need everybody on the same page, yes ma'am, no ma'am. What you do need is people challenging the way you see leadership, HR, retention, engagement, recruitment, all of these things that normal HR people would normally deal with. But a different perspective doesn't necessarily mean you have to change your whole perspective. It simply means, I never thought about it this way. You're going to leave with strategies that you can employ tonight. At 9:30, when you could text your WhatsApp group chain at work, y'all, as of Monday, we doing so and so. Or I just heard this guy talk about how the power of branding is so important and how our employer brand is trash. We need to revamp our website. We need to do so and so. You're going to be inspired to do the regular and the irregular, right? Additionally, you're going to be in a room filled with 124 other people who believe in disruption. That's magic. I can feed you a little bit. I can give you something to drink. You ain't going to be hungry. You ain't going to be thirsty. You're going to have ways to commemorate the evening as well. And you're going to get 18 mini master classes that you would not be able to receive anywhere else for that price point. So I encourage you to evaluate the cost of an action, and then your lashes and your haircut cost more than that event. Like, honestly.
Fair enough.
Don't do it. Come, let's go.
So who is this best for? Because obviously you have people coming from a lot of different backgrounds. Is this primarily for HR professionals? Is it primarily for management or C-suite? Is it for pastors and ministry leaders? Like, who shouldn't miss this event?
Anybody with a pulse, honestly.
Okay.
That may sound cliche, may be like, I'm mad. Come on, listen to me. Irrespective of the industry you find yourself in, everything around you is changing by the minute. Nothing is the same anymore. Everything is different. And so you have a choice to either move ahead of that curve or be caught trying to catch up to it as things continue to evolve. This is primarily meant for HR leaders, HR professionals, HR colleagues of ours, but it's for anyone who wants to be disrupted or wants to challenge a way of doing business, a way of leading, a way of pastoring. My pastor's bringing a whole cohort from church. His pastor's coming like, y'all. Everybody here old. Like, our leadership at our church is way older than its congregation in many cases. So we can't operate as though we're leading us. We are trying to win souls for people that see the world completely different from us, that have 4-minute attention spans and see God as some magical figure versus a sovereign being. We need to be able to connect with them at their level without losing the foundation of what the church actually means. We have leaders coming. My father is bringing 14 of his retired, I guess you could say, colleagues, his brethren. It's like, y'all, we only retire because they say we have to go home because we reached the age. But we sharp, we capable. We have something to offer. So why not now take what the world is showing us and adapt it to the way we do whatever we're going to be doing, right? He's in civic groups all around the country, and he's trying to figure out what do we do to now reach younger people to join these civic organizations? Because everybody older than him, and he's 63. So they eventually, just by way of nature, they're going to die. Right? Who do we now reach to find ways to disrupt the status quo, still hold the foundation clear, still hold true to this organization or the civic engagement, civic organization, values, but bring in new blood, new ideas, new perspective. And that's why Disrupt HR is so important. Because we're not all on the same page. We're not agreeable to the same thing. But we do understand and find value in disruption being the catalyst to move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously in the HR space, you also have a wide expanse of experiences and individuals. Because you have people who are, in that 50 crowd that's HR leaders, but you also have people like yourself that's in that mid-30s to mid-40s crowd as well, which will have a different perspective.
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of room for difference of opinion, difference of style, even in that space. So it is then presented to challenge, I guess, across the spectrum. No matter where you're coming from, there's going to be something that you can take away from the event.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that by an act of God, there seems to be a lot of connection points between through your speakers. How does that, when you take a step back, obviously you're still in preparation mode, but how does that make you feel in terms of just as you're putting this together and the expectations that now come because you're seeing a lot of integratedness between the conversations, the speakers? How does that work for you?
Yeah. For me, I just love to see God do his thing. I like to not get in his business. And normally what would happen, or what has happened in the past with Disrupt HR and Nassau specifically, they would select speakers almost, right? Based on the theme or whatever they wanted to go for. I wanted this to be completely undone, right? Upside down, like real disruption. I put out a call for speakers. They had to apply. They had to select a topic. There is no theme and no group and no cohesion. Random people, random ideas that will challenge the way you think and or see the world. Think about or see the world. And so I put out the call. We had over 43, we had 47 applicants. And I messaged Jennifer, the creator of this. I was like, is there a limit to how many people you can have speak? She's like, no. How you feel? I'm like, I have 47 applicants. She's like, okay, don't how you feel. I would say, like, find your way to thumb through it and figure out who has the strongest message, or whatever, and then select those. There is no limit because we've never had, and I don't think anybody's ever had as many as 18 speakers either. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But she was like, there's no limit. We would recommend a minimum of 12 for varying perspective and, just some engagement. But anything less than 12 would just be like one by speaking. But we never had a question about how many was the maximum. So we put out a call. We had 47 applications. We selected 24 actually, and 6 of them were out of this country. Just by scheduling and things happened, they had to withdraw. So we have 4 speakers coming into Nassau, 2 from Grand Bahama, 1 from Guyana, 1 from Honolulu. He's from Africa. The Honolulu and Guyanese speakers are coming in on Thursday and leaving on Saturday. You don't spend how much ever it costs to get from Hawaii to get to Nassau for one day. You don't spend that so these people are coming with something that you need to leave with. That's the impact they're going to bring. But what we found is that we had our speaker orientation call back in July. Beginning of August, as we selected our speakers and chose them. And every single person on that call, I had them just tell us why they decided to apply. And one, they all said I was in some way hiding behind my gift. I was afraid, I was uncertain, I was, letting the fear and whatever else got in front of me. Additionally, this message needs to be shared. I've lived this message myself. So no one is taking what they saw on Google or ChatGPT and bringing it to the stage. This is lived experience. And there's no better teacher than life. You know what I mean? And so to have them come and bring their individual, collective experience, I said individual because it's going to be collective as they come together, you're going to find yourself in one of these 18 speakers for sure. Yeah.
So, I was looking through your Facebook page and some of the speaker spotlights. There's a lot of interesting topics here, the art of being seen, redefining leadership in regulated workspaces. Your culture is a lie because you are too.
Yes.
So some very, thumb in the eye kind of topics as you look through
it's
it.
You. Hey, you.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Basically, as you look through the speaker list, is there any particular topic that kind of you look at and you're like, I can't wait for people to hear this?
There are a few. So that your culture's alive because you are too. I am so excited to see how Alexandra's going to bring that to light. We have that topic that you read second. She's actually changed it. So it's now rules don't build culture. I think people do something like that because she is from the compliance background, but she's also heavy on HR, heavy on L&D. So she's bringing a unique perspective on how we bridge a regulated environment while we build culture at the same time. You don't need to be rigid and stale and, tyrannical because you name MLRO. Because you got to keep people in order and watch the fines. You could still see people for who they are as you keep us in line, Mr. or Mrs. Framework, right, or guideline. Another topic that I'm interested to hear from is a gentleman called Donovan Jason Roll. He's talking about, are you fit to lead? Jay is a fitness instructor. Like, you got hypertension, your sugar diabetes dead high, you're on pills for everything, but you're calling yourself a leader? How do you demonstrate leadership and you don't look like leadership? Right? Now, some of these may feel like attacks and like, wait, this may come in for us. But Disrupt HR is meant to ignite, not to incite. It's not meant to indict anybody. It's meant to ignite a fire in you to go back to your organization and change something. Do something differently, be radical in your approach, engage in your perspectives, engage unseen and unheard people. Because like I said, the majority of these people you've not seen or heard on the stage before. And that's very intentional. We didn't want the same old. And most of these same old are people that I learned from and mentor or have been mentored by every day. But that doesn't mean it stops with us. There's a new iteration of speakers coming up, and I want them to have a bold introduction to the world through Disrupt HR stage.
It's very bold, and obviously it's very disruptive.
Yes.
And like you said, it kind of flies in the face of the conference model that people would be familiar with. It is a critical thing to think through in terms of like even just the fit to lead, right? You have people who are, like you said, operating in leadership, but if you're not modeling work-life balance, if you're not modeling taking care of yourself, even as you work and as you lead, then you are not well. And then by default, you're modeling and giving an example of not being well. And you see that kind of filter down through a lot of times through your organization. So it is, like I said, just looking through some of the topics that I saw, and I'm like, this is going to be very different. And I think it has the room to be very impactful for people. Once you don't come in offended or indicted, but you come in with an open mind. I think that's a critical part of attending this, is that you come in with the open-minded to say, I'm willing to listen and hear a different perspective and consider it. I think that's the one thing too. Sometimes when you bring about a different viewpoint, a different speaker, sometimes the old guard, for lack of a better word, will look at it as like, so you just want me to drop everything that I've done and just do it this way. And a lot of times what something like this is meant to present is, no, add this into your consideration. If you have 5 things in your consideration box, just make this number 6, right? And I think that's kind of the, not putting words in your mouth, but that seems like that's kind of the way that you want to approach this.
Absolutely. This is not, like I said, we don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But many of us have been bathing in the same water for decades now. And that is not healthy on any front, right? And so we want people to now say, you know what, maybe those 5 things that are in my consideration list can be amalgamated. They can become one big disruptive concept. We want you to think about how you're going to treat retention, engagement, relatability in your organization. How do you promote people? How do you succeed people in your organization? Think differently about those processes, because the world is already ahead of you in the curve. And most people in this audience, Alexis, are disruptors already.
Right.
They're coming to find more ways to be even more disruptive. They ain't scary. They ain't trying to be offended. They ain't mashing nobody corn. Everything ain't gonna be, oh my God, how could they say that? It's like, I can't believe somebody's just now saying this. I've been saying this for decades now, for months now. We want the audience to come prepared to be disrupted, but to go back out and then disrupt. Don't leave there the same old, the same way you came. I want you to think about it this way. I believe the first ever Disrupt HR conference or event took place on the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus was like, but y'all, gather everybody y'all could find. They need something. Bring them together, and he was building up to this, right? He said, I have a message. Come check me on September 26, 2025. Let's ride, and I can show you something, right? He gathered these people, families, husbands, wives, daughters, sons, people from all walks of life gathered to hear a man speak. At that event, he made something happen. He disrupted what we understood about multiplication, right? He disrupted the way you see provision. He disrupted the way you see communication and engagement. He did not have 12 saved people behind him. He had 12 sinners behind him. Gangsters, womanizers, gamblers, drinkers. I don't know if they were smoking back then, but whatever you could do, them people was doing it. Peter them was gangsters, Alexis. They weren't perfect. And that's not the mess. That's the exact message Disrupt HR is sending. You don't need to have it all together, but you have to want to see it better. Peter and them wanted to see better for themselves and for the people that God had connected them to through Jesus Christ. And so Jesus, in my opinion, at the first Disrupt HR conference, eons ago, and it set the precedent for the way we should engage people as we move forward. None of us are the same. All of us have value. And that's what Disrupt HR Nassau is going to do. It's going to put on display the value living in this nation, coming from around the world, to get you to see the world a little bit differently, to appreciate the fact that just because you see it this way does not mean everybody else sees it that way too.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned Alexandra's topic in particular, your culture is a lie, because you are too.
Yeah.
Is there any other speaker or topic that as you look down the list and you prepare and you anticipate, you're like, boy, this one might ruffle some feathers, but everybody needs to hear this, or a lot of these people that are coming need to hear this particular topic or this particular speaker. Is there anyone that sticks out in that regard?
Yeah, there's a lady called Dr. Latazia Stewart. She is, yes, she is phenomenal, and she's doing work that I didn't understand needed to be done. I'm a man, I don't have ovaries, I cannot get fibroids, I cannot have menstrual issues and all these things. But as a man, I may be one day married to a woman that does. I may be married to, I may be the son of a mother who is, a son of a brother of a sister who is, a cousin to a cousin who is affected by fertility issues. And when anyone is ill, and I'm not calling fertility illness, but when anybody is not well in their body, they cannot be well in their mind altogether. That is going to affect the way we see and do and perform at work. Think about it this way. You have a CEO male or a CEO female. CEO female is 42. Been trying to have a baby with her husband for the last 7 years. Every day is another fire to extinguish, another problem to solve. But she is riddled with the fact that I cannot be what women should be in this world based on the world standards, first of all. I can't do what women are supposed to do, which is procreate and have babies and carry on the generations. I can't do that. But I am a woman in a man's role, in a man's world, affected by what men think about a woman who can't have a baby. The minute she gets pregnant is all she wants to do is have a baby. She's in a weird space. Think about the male CEO whose wife is at home every night crying, burdened, praying to God for that baby but can't have one. Praying to God for the pain she's in because her body is reacting to something that she can't control. He has to lead a meeting in the morning. Board stakeholders have to meet next week, Monday. He has to make millions of dollars for a company and stakeholders that he can't be vulnerable enough to say, y'all, my wife's struggling. But it's bothering me. Think about the young man who just got hired last week. First week on the job, his mommy home. He have to work to pay for her medication because come on, this affects everyone, right? And I never understood it until I heard her speak at her own conference. But her topic is unseen, untouched, unspoken. The hidden cost of ignoring women's health in the workplace. And I've done a poor job of limiting it to just fertility issues, right? But females make up the large majority of many workforces today. They are in many leadership positions. They are leading our HR departments, and many of them are suffering in silence. And when we don't create policies and have events and have things that see these women or their family members as they are going through these challenges, we are costing our organizations so much more. So I'm looking forward to this 5-minute masterclass on how we can really revamp the way we see issues with women's health in our organizations and then bring them to light in a different way.
And I can see that one being very impactful. I remember she told a story when she was on Vital Voices earlier this year, promoting the conference, promoting her book. She talked about a lady who had come to her, an HR leader who she had an employee. They didn't know who the employee was, but they basically just found the miscarried baby in the office bathroom. Jesus. And they didn't know who it was. The person, nobody called out sick the next day. Nobody called in sick the rest of that day because they didn't know how to even manage that in the workplace. Right. And so hearing a story like that, knowing kind of her story, knowing her approach to this, I think you're right. That is going to be very impactful because, you have people, like you said, you have husbands who have wives that have it. You have, male leaders who don't have any understanding or any clue as to how to navigate this.
And that's not, again, an indictment on them. Sometimes we just don't know what we don't know.
But I mean, what you know a lot of times is your own experience,
Literally.
Right? And so if you've had, whether it was your mom, your sister, your wife, you may have more of a soft heart to how to manage that. But if you don't know that experience and you're working in leadership, that's not going to click to you. And I can tell you, yes, women who are having challenges with fertility, having challenges with their womb in any way, shape, or form, and like you said, any sort of illness, anything that is negatively impacting their body, just like any of us, if we are ill, we are not operating at our peak performance, and everything then suffers. So yes, talking about how you bring attention to and navigate and handle the delicate nature of, health issues. Obviously, she's talking about it from a women's perspective, but health issues in the workplace is a very critical topic.
Yeah, and I think why this is important for me, and also I want people to think about what it means for the spirit of what Disrupt HR stands for, right? My mother had 3 children without issue, right? My sister got pregnant, had a baby without issue. My aunts have children without issue. My grandmothers both had 5 children, no issues, right? My cousins have babies, no issues. So I grew up seeing women
You get pregnant, you have the
have
baby,
the
everything
babies
normal.
grow up, all is well. All my cousins are still alive. I have like one uncle that passed away. Like my life is literally blessed. All my female family members. I have a cousin who had fibroids, but still gave birth to 2 healthy boys that are going to be 16 and 13, 11 this year, right? Like life on my end, from my perspective, and this is not to sound boasting or selfish, is good. But that skews perspective. Because I don't understand why a woman couldn't get pregnant. And I make a snap judgment, or she ain't a real woman. She ain't this, she ain't that. Or he can't get herself pregnant, he ain't no real man. But all I've seen my whole life is men, my uncles, my father, my brothers, get women pregnant. They not get women pregnant, but their spouse, their family.
You see the smooth process.
The natural,
Right.
what we consider natural.
Right.
Until I became an HR professional, realizing that, wait a minute, everybody don't term babies. Everybody don't carry babies straight to term. Everybody doesn't get pregnant on the first iteration, the first try.
I will tell you, because I know, coming up, I know so many of like friends that I was in set with in our church environment. You go down the list and there's like 3, 4, 5, 6 women that I know that had miscarriages. Some that had multiple. There's an older lady in our church who had 8 miscarriages.
Jeez.
Right? And so when you hear that, and especially because I have cousins, I have people very close to me that have gone through the difficulty of this process, right? And it changes your mind. 100%. So like even for me, when I was working as a director, I went through, our family had a number of issues that happened. My wife was ill for a time. My mom was diagnosed with cancer and she passed. My dad was diagnosed with cancer and he passed. And all this happened in the span of 2 years, right? Literally between 2020 and 2022, all of that happened. And so for me now, especially if I was ever to go back into a standard corporate space, that is going to color as a leader how I consider these things. Because I walk through the experience of having to go into work, having to manage a team while dealing with 3 very heavy things that happen in the span of
very important people in your life.
Right, and people who are very close to me. Literally my wife, my mom, and my dad.
That's your life.
That is so. And that's why I say, I hear you talk about you are indeed blessed. That is a blessed life to live.
Yes.
But it does also color your perspective.
Correct.
The same way. And so I think people have to also consider that. It's like, what you see and what you know and what you've walked definitely colors how you lead
100%.
and how you consider things. Because in your mind, I thought you
lay
your
down
wife,
and you
get
get
pregnant,
pregnant, and that's it.
They
The
have the
baby's
baby
come.
and everything just cool,
Wow.
right? So like I said, I think things like that, and I get even better understanding of how you're approaching this, and the because even to recognize and understand that and have her come to be a part of this shows your willingness to hear the different perspectives,
Absolutely.
present the different perspectives,
Absolutely.
and disrupt things.
Disrupt
which
things
is
intentionally as
yeah.
well. Yeah, for sure.
So that's I'm looking forward to that, because like I said, I've done some work with Dr. Taz, and I think that's going to be a very, very impactful conversation for people to hear.
100%.
I don't know if you have something particular, because obviously you have a lot of different voices, a lot of different topics. Is there a specific challenge that you're aiming to solve, speak to, as a part of the overall goal of Disrupt HR Nassau 4.0 this year?
We want to change and eradicate single loop thinking. This is the construct I learned when I was doing my master's degree. And single loop thinking is that this is what I know and this is all I need to know. Right? I know that women get pregnant after they have sex with a man. Story over. I don't know that a woman could have all sorts of things that can go wrong as she's pregnant. Grammy would say, 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot out of the grave. Pregnancy is a literal life or death situation from day 1 to day 9 months. And I want people to think about the world differently. You don't have to agree with me on my philosophy to understand and appreciate that I have one. And I want leaders to really, really understand that the only way to really lead with impact is to appreciate that we are not all the same, but we all have value to bring. And when you see and assign value to your team members, the world in that organization will radically change. People, once they realize they are valued, want to add more value to you. When you bring your wife that chocolate that she loves, or that peanuts that she likes, or that take her to the movie because she likes to go to the movies, oh baby, to cook the food it's a little bit better next week. right? She can rub her head a little bit longer tomorrow evening. Like things, people, when they feel valued, give more value. And all we want Disrupt HR Nassau 4.0 to do is to disrupt single loop thinking and to bring in double loop thinking. An appreciation for different ways of seeing the same thing. Finding that as a strategy, as a strategic tool in your leadership toolkit versus some annoyance that this player is running out with something different. Tap into the unknown, tap into the difference, and watch your life and your organizations get better.
You know, thinking about it, it is set up very differently from your typical event, your typical conference, so to speak. Are there going to be opportunities for like networking for people who are coming there? Like, because obviously you're talking about speakers from outside of the country, people who are in different spaces of leadership, different organizations. You know, what does the event look like from that standpoint in terms of the opportunity to network? You know, we had, that was not an issue. We had Annette Cash on talking about her conference that's coming up, you know, and her and Wenrick are like, come with your CV, you know, come with your headshot, that sort of thing. You know, so from that perspective, I guess a similar question, what can people expect from the opportunities to network on the ground?
So the event is actually going to begin at 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., right? From 6:30 to 7 is that networking power hour, right? Connect with people, learn from people who you have never heard from before, engage people, ask them weird questions that are going to make them think. No question should be a closed-ended question at night. Every question should be open-ended and you should be taking notes somewhere, right? Get to know people, engage people. We're going to have that first half hour for cocktailing, engagement, networking, so on and so forth. The first 9 speakers will go on. We'll take a 15-minute intermission break. So you can go ahead and engage those speakers, talk to more people who just came into the room, find somebody you didn't speak with, take a picture with them, take a video with them, exchange contacts. You're going to be very intentional about that in the space. If you know Valdez as a moderator or a host, you know he is all about connection. And so you will not leave there not knowing somebody else for sure. After that 15-minute intermission, we're going to have the last 9 speakers come. So it's going to be 45 minutes of speaking across each break, between each segment. And then after that is done, from another 9, about 9:30, will be another time for you to connect and engage and network and sharpen your skills with people in the room. Do not come to this event if you stuck up or if you ain't anything like it. If you shy and break out of that shyness, come to this event. If you want to meet people who have different ways of thinking, come to this event. If you want to sharpen your skills as a leader, a business owner, an entrepreneur, a marketing person, an HR person, an accountant, a compliance person, come to this event. If you want to leave better than you came, come to this event. If you're in the same old, everything cool, watch it online. We can catch you later.
Speaking of watching online, you know, are there different opportunities to access this? Are you going to package it so people can access it after? You know, for someone who maybe like they plan to be out of town. Like, what are the ways that people may be able to get access to this information if they're not able to make it out that night?
Be in the room. Got to be in the room. If you can't come, send your representative. Let them be in the room. Let them be in the room for you. You will not be able to. There's no virtual, none of that. It's in the room. 125 seats right now. We have like 78 left. You need to get in the room. And those are 78 because the people have made commitments. They're not paid yet, so I don't count them until they pay. But I want you to know this. At the end of a part of the license agreement is that I have to record the event fully. It has to be fully recorded. It will then be added to the Disrupt HR global website, which has more than 1 million hits per day. And so additional to you getting this visibility in the room, these 18 people are now going to be global voices around the world. And that is a huge deal, Alexis. As I said earlier, visibility builds credibility, and credibility leads to viability. And these 15 Bahamian speakers, 16 Bahamian speakers, are going to be placed on a platform in another 8 to 10 weeks after this session is done, for people from around the world to see and hear their voice, to see and hear their message, to understand that greatness lives in this nation. And you can't afford to not be a part of that, honestly. So you could wait another 10 weeks to see it online, but it ain't nothing like being in the room, brother. I can tell you, the people who was in the marketplace when Jesus had his first Disrupt HR conference was beating themselves in the head when they realized their brother was actually on the field, in the grass, eating the fish, and hear this man speak that changed their lives. You can't afford to be outside of this room. You got to be in the room yourself.
Fair enough.
Yes, sir.
So that leads us into the next obvious question: how do people register? Where they go? How do they get in? How do they get in the room?
Yes. So you can go on our social platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn at Rashad Thompson. We are heavily marketing this across all platforms, including Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, we are Disrupt HR Nassau. On Facebook, you can look for my profile again, Rashad Thompson. You will find all information about Disrupt HR there. You can email us at disrupthrnassau@gmail.com as well. We will send you all the links. The link is a weird link, so I can't say it. It's just too long. But you can go on any of those social platforms to find the link, find the QR code, and you'll be able to register there. You can register as many people as you'd like. You can pay, it's pay online as well, so you pay with a debit or credit card. You may have a corporate entity that you want to sponsor some of your leaders to attend. We can invoice you that way to make it easier for you. So you don't have to get charges on your card. We can, again, email us. You can contact me at 242-468-0192 for direct access to that link or that payment invoice system. We want you to be in the room. Find no reason to not be there. Send a children to the Grammy, leave them home, whatever you gotta do. You always find ways to do other stuff. Find a way to be disrupted, and so you can disrupt after that as well. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do some quick hits as we wrap up. If every attendee implemented one disruptive practice next week, what would you choose? What would you recommend?
One disruptive practice that everyone could do the same thing of? Ask the right questions. You say one. Ask the right questions and stop being scary. Bro, I talk to people every day in my coaching business, Alexis, and 98% of them tell me daily, I haven't because I'm afraid to. Bro, you could be nervous, you could be uncertain, you could be all the things, but fear is a trap. Fear is a lie. Fear is a scheme of the stinking, rotten enemy. He does not want you to live outside of fear because fear keeps you bound. Jesus said, I've given you the spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. I asked God when I was writing my book, Alexis, why did you give us 3 things to combat one? Fear doesn't have 3 things behind it, but fear have cousins, anxiety, right? Depression, sadness. But he gave us the spirit of 3 individual things to combat the one thing. That's how powerful it is if you let it be your God. I need you to stop being afraid to ask questions, to raise your hand, to say, wait, I don't agree with that. I have a different perspective. Would you mind if we looked at it this way? What about if we talked to Mary or Susan or Paul or John? Stop being afraid, right? Disrupt by not having all the answers. You don't have to be a know-it-all. When your team sees know-it-all behavior, they say, you know what, since you know it all, do it all. I want you to stop being afraid, but also ask the right questions. The right leaders, the good leaders among us, Alexis, ask the right questions of the best people. That don't mean the high performers all the time. That don't mean the people who can tell you yes or no because you want to hear yes or no. That doesn't mean the people who come to work every single day. Some people need to go home and relax. Some people got to use their sick days. You give it to them, let them use them. But I want you to ask the right questions of the right people. Engage your team members in the best way you know how, and in ways that don't feel disingenuous or unauthentic.
Yeah, I'll drop a quick story here. I don't think I've told this story on the podcast before. So I remember stepping into an executive meeting for the first time in one of my career stops. And we were having a meeting, and the HR leader said, you know, we've been having a lot of, you know, I guess, not sufficiently qualified candidates for roles that they had out. And I raised my hand. I'm like, because y'all have it as a coordinator, and I don't know what a coordinator is. Like, I remember applying for the job that I applied for, and I'm like, is this a managerial role? Because it's not, obviously in the description, it kind of speaks to that, but people are used to certain things. So I was like, I think people think a coordinator is a lower tier position.
I get coffee and
not a managerial position.
Right.
And I remember literally within 2 to 3 weeks, they changed the titles, and it went from being coordinators to managers because I wasn't afraid to speak up in the room.
Yes,
like I said, this was my first time
Yes.
in an executive meeting. My first time, I think I had just become like even just qualified and eligible to be in the room.
Yes.
And I was like, I mean, I know, because it was recent to me. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
And so that was kind of not being afraid. And then obviously now that changed how it happened. And you come back a couple of months later and they weren't having that issue anymore. And it's simple things like that where you have to be willing to just ask the question and not be afraid to either, you know, be looked at like you're stupid or have somebody say something that's disrespectful, but you be willing to just raise your hand and be like, well, what about this?
Yes, literally.
And you have, I think people don't often realize that they have more power than they think to be able to change the world around them.
Yeah.
If they're just willing to step beyond that fear and be willing to ask questions and be inquisitive. Because sometimes You're the only person in the room with the perspective that has the ability to change what's happening.
Come on, that is a word. That is a word, Alexis.
So, because that was the thing. In that space, everybody who was in the room had been in the organization for a long time, so nobody thought about it.
This was single loop thinking.
Right. So
They just figured this is the way you do it. Versus, hey, this isn't the only way to do it.
Right.
Have we considered?
It's just the way we've always done it.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. So, what would success look like for you 90 days after the event? How do you measure the impact of this cycle of Disrupt HR Nassau?
Yeah. Anything I do at this point in my life, Alexis, is assignment, and I'm looking for impact. I'll share with you a quick story. I was in a gas station a couple of weeks ago, and this lady came up. She said, "Are you a man?" I said, "Yes, mom. I went to your shift conference in January, and my fruit is just not my tree is just now bearing fruit." And she said, "Sir, this is the sweetest fruit I ever tasted in my life. I cannot wait until shift 26." Alexis, for me, if one individual leaves there thinking differently, if we, as a man, think it, so is he. If we think differently, the world changes, bro. And if we can get one individual of those 125 people saying, "You know what? I never thought about recruitment this way, or how important my health is this way, or what the females in my organization may be dealing with this way. But now I see it and I will never think about it this way ever again," we have considered ourselves impactful. I want those speakers, because out of those 18, about 14 of them said, "I am afraid to do this." I saw one last night. She was like, "Ahmad, I am shaking in my boots." I said, "Darling, all will be well."
That's the thing. When you mention a thing about fear, I saw when you put out the call for speakers, and I sat there and I looked at it and I'm like, do I apply? Do I not apply?
Yes.
Do I? And fair one, and I didn't apply.
Yes.
Right. And so I look at it. I'm like, okay. So when the calls go out next year, I know I'm putting out my application.
Let's
right.
do it.
But it is like that. I think sometimes there's a certain degree of anxiety that you need. There's a certain bit of delusion that you need
Yes.
to be able to say, you know, I ain't quite sure. Like, me and my wife had this conversation recently, and I was like, I feel like my toxic trait is that I say yes to things that I have no business saying yes to.
Sir.
And then hopefully God works it out.
He will work it out.
It's kind of the way. It's kind of the way that I've approached it. And I've even had to say that to some of my clients. I'm like, I said yes to you. I probably shouldn't have said yes,
Yeah.
but here we are, and it's working, and so therefore it works.
Yes.
But it is that willingness, I think, to step just beyond your fear, and sometimes act with a healthy amount of delusion.
Yes. Yes.
Like
believe you can and you will.
Yeah.
Believe you can't, you'll never get a chance to.
because you never even tried.
You never tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So for leaders on the fence, finish a sentence. If you care about blank in 2025, you should be in the room.
If you care about impact in 2025, you should be in the room. If you care about change, if you care about your employees, if you care about making money, listen, investment in yourself is the only investment that ever always pays off. In the next, I want to say 4 weeks, I'm going to be attending 4 different events to make me better, all in this nation. Disrupt HR, Annette's conference, Unleashed. I saw this thing yesterday. I registered last night for it. It's called Catalyst. I have a class on Saturday. While that event is happening, I duck in class to go to that event. Because if people are going to be gathering, talking about ways to get better, move faster,
You wanna
more
be in the
efficient,
room?
I want to be in that room. And then there's Live to Lead with my friend and colleague, Patrice Taylor. That's coming up in October. It's going to round up right after Disrupt HR. The very next Friday is Live to Lead. I'm going to be there. I am going to be investing in Ahmad because Ahmad has to invest in people around him. And I can't pour from an empty cup. Many of us consider all these people on your money they want. Nothing free. Nothing is free. And you come into the SLS. You won't come into one tent place or something.
But at the same time, like you said, a $60 investment. You're not
Come
talking
on,
about a
man.
$300 conference. I mean, people paying more than that to go to Paradise Place and to go to the balls.
To go
and
eat
that
food
sort
and
of
drink
stuff.
rum.
Right.
Come
So,
and be edified by what we're doing in this room, and also sow a seed of visibility that people are going to be in that stage. It's scary, Alexis. 5 minutes. I really don't know what I want to say. Let me tell you how this works. I had my presentation prepared for the Disrupt HR Trinidad, right? I sent it in, I submitted it, and I didn't look at it again, right? I do this for a living, but I never ever wing it. I don't disrespect my audience by coming unprepared. I never will do that. I also don't disrespect the opportunity God is giving me by disrespecting and not preparing. So I did my presentation. I was pleased with it. I sent it off, and it was like, bro, I can't, no words. I had like 4 words, but it was still pictures, right? She was like, Ahmad, I ain't gonna lie. This looked like this could be good. And the topic was elusive enough to make you be like, what are you going to talk about? I get to Trinidad, and I'm in my Airbnb, and I was like, what does this slide mean again? Like, what does this picture mean? Like, what? Wait a minute, I forget what I'm supposed to say. So the night before, I'm like, Lord, give me fresh ideas. Because I can't remember what I'm supposed to say, and I can't afford to make it up or bring it in the morning. So give me a fresh perspective on every single slide in this presentation. I get on the stage, Alexis, and I literally speak as the Holy Spirit is speaking to me. I do this for a living, okay? I am prepared. I never show up unprepared, never show up unwilling. I do what God sent me to do. But bro, the best of us have days when we're like, whoa, I ain't sure. So these people who are coming out of their comfort zone, embracing the fear that's behind this decision that they made, they're going to come on the stage and they're going to bare their soul in 5 minutes. Sow the seed of eradicating fear by being in a room and making somebody else feel fearless, right? But there's so many benefits to being in this room. You don't have to come, but I can tell you, the people who come in, you ain't gonna never be the same again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Final invite. So who do you want listeners to forward this episode to right now, and just remind them again where they could follow for updates, registration, the whole nine?
I want you to send this to the person in your organization who's making you the maddest. Like, seriously. The one who you really wish didn't work there no more. I ain't gonna lie, I talking sense. Like, seriously, send this episode and the flyer and the link and the whole, like, send my whole LinkedIn page and be like, hey man, we should go to this. Like, let's go together. Like, I know you can't stand me and you know I can't stand you. But we need you to get it together. So come, let's go. And just send it to them. Like, send it to the person on your team, and your organization, in your church WhatsApp group, in your family WhatsApp group, who you know is running you the hardest. Because even them have, first of all, value to add and value to bring, but sometimes just need a nudge in the right direction to be disrupted so they could cause disruption as well. You can find more information about the event on my LinkedIn page as Ahmad Rashad Thompson. You can find it on my Facebook page, Ahmad Rashad Thompson, or on our Instagram page, which is Disrupt HR Nassau on Instagram. You can also email us at disrupthrnassau@gmail.com. Contact me directly at 242-468-0192. Send this to the people who you know in your life. Ain't making too much sense, but they still have room to make more sense.
I can't wait for the people who got sent the episode when they get to it. And hold on, wait.
Am
I the person that you wanted up here?
That's sick. I can't believe that's what you think of me. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank
Ahmad.
you, sir.
Excellent conversation once again. And I'm excited. Now you have me. Now I need to go register.
Yes, please
but
do.
it sounds like it's going to be an amazing event, something that's going to be life-changing. I wish you all the best. I pray that you get booked out, because it's good for you, but it's also good for people to get in the room and hear these different perspectives and take it back to their organizations and initiate change.
Absolutely.
So thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us, talk with us about it, and we look forward to attending Disrupt HR Nassau 4.0.
There we go.
All right, so that's our conversation with Ahmad Rashad Thompson on why now is the moment to rethink how we lead people at work. Disrupt HR Nassau 4.0 is Friday, September 26th at 6:30 p.m. at SLS Bahamas. It's a $60 investment for ideas you can put to work by Monday. To grab your seat, scan the QR code on the event poster or hit the link in the show notes. Capacity is limited. Share this episode with your HR leaders, small business owners, pastors, team leads who need to be in the room, and that person that you just wish wasn't on your job anymore. For updates and everything else, follow Ahmad Rashad Thompson and Disrupt HR Nassau on social media. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. As always, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and share. Until next time, stay informed, stay connected, stay well, and stay tuned for the next Vital Voice.
We'd like to thank today's sponsors, Oak Tree Medical Center and Wellspring Lifestyle Group.
Are you enjoying Vital Voices? Do you find our conversations educational, engaging, and inspiring? Then like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell to keep updated on new episodes and more.
Why you put this?